What's poppin', guys? It's your boy Jay, that's me. Let's discuss Impact Wrestling for June the 1st, 2023. This was a pretty decent show. This was the fallout from Under Siege, and we're building towards Against All Odds next week. So, the show itself was okay. Nothing too major happened. You know, just still setting up and finalizing the card for Against All Odds. But it was an okay episode of Impact. So, we kick things off with Bully Ray. So, he comes out to open up the show. He gets into the Rainbow, but before he does, he whispered to Matthew Raywall, a.k.a. Aiden English, that the next time he gets involved in his business, he's going to put him through a table and set him on fire. I'm like, damn, Bully Ray is a savage. So Bully Ray then gets on the mic, and he asked everyone if they knew who he was. He says he put everyone through a table. Men, women, old women, people who he didn't like, bosses of companies. He says if they really piss him off, he lights the table on fire. He says Scott D'Amore pissed him off, and he burnt Scott D'Amore to a crisp. He said he will go to Against All Odds and become the new number one contender to the Impact World Championship. Then out comes Steve Maclin. He says the only reason Bully was able to do what he did was because Steve Maclin allowed it to happen. Bully cuts him off and takes exception to it before taking it back and saying Maclin is the world champ, and he is right. Maclin says if they've teamed together, Maclin says he'd be happy to face Bully for the Impact World Championship. So the City Machine Guns, they come out, and this was like a real long promo. This went on about a good 10 to 12 minutes. This was very WWE-esque. Very. Alex Shelley says Bully Ray isn't the number one contender to the World Championship. He is. Alex Shelley said Bully Ray isn't walking away from Against All Odds as number one contender. He is. Bully Ray says normally he would bury him on the mic, but he won't, because he's one of the most honest people in the business. He says Alex Shelley isn't mentioned in the same breath as the greats, but he should be. Bully says Team 3D and Motor City Machine Guns tore the house down. Bully says Shelley isn't happy being someone who couldn't win the big one. Continuing on, Bully Ray says that okay, my bad. So Bully Ray says that eats at Alex Shelley, that a guy like him couldn't win the world championship. Saban says this sounds familiar. Bully said the same thing to him 10 years ago. Saban beat Bully for the world championship. Bully said a month later, Bully beat him to win it back, which is correct. And then Maclin asked Alex Shelley what makes Shelley think that he can beat him. So Bully asked Alex Shelley if he thinks he can beat Steve Maclin. Shelley says, yep. Doing the whole Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens shtick from, I think, 2018, 2019 in WWE. So Maclin says Alex Shelley dropped the ball against Josh Alexander. What makes him think he could beat Steve Maclin? And then Alex Shelley says to Steve Maclin, that Maclin is no Josh Alexander. And if Josh was still around, Maclin wouldn't get to touch the World Championship, the Impact World Championship. He asked Bully, why is Bully laughing? Because Josh beat him too. Saban challenged both to a tag match. Bully says they'll do it, but not tonight. Then out comes Subculture. Mark Andrews says if the Motor City Machine Guns are throwing out challenges, they're not accepting it. Subculture would like to accept it. Alex Shelley agrees and tells Maclin and Bully to keep an eye on it. So this is okay. I do like this. This makes perfect sense. Pretty okay little way to start off the night. Alex Shelley isn't the strongest on the mic. Neither is Chris Sabin. Bully is decent on the mic. Same thing with Steve Maclin. But this is an okay little way to start off the show. But I do think that if Josh Alexander was still there, they probably would have went with Maclin anyway, because Josh had already been champion for a year. So there's no way that Impact would have allowed Josh Alexander to go past a year as champion. Like, Impact didn't have real long champions like that. They just don't. So, yeah. And anyway, even if Josh Alexander would have won, since Nick Aldis came in, Josh would have had to have done the job to Nick Aldis. And, that should have been able to eat up Josh Alexander and turn Josh heel. And that way we could put the company in the right direction. That's just me. Speaking of Nick Aldis, he was interviewed by Jimmy Jacobs. Yes, that Jimmy Jacobs who wears female clothing when he wrestles. Yes, that one. Which is weird. He wears fairy dresses. Ugh. Nick says the one time he feels dangerous is when he has momentum behind him, and after Under Siege, he feels he has momentum. He gives credit to Kenny King for getting him up, getting him to up his game. Jimmy Jacobs brings up the 8-4-1 match at Against All Odds. Nick said he would need teamwork. Nick also says he doesn't make guarantees, but he'll win the 8-4-1 match, and he'll become number one contender, and he'll become the Impact World Champion. So, for those of you that don't know what that is, so basically what they're going to do at Against All Odds is going to be an 8-man tag. Whoever wins that tag will face each other again, and then the winner will go on to be the new number one contender at Slammiversary, which is dumb. This is completely stupid. Completely stupid. I hate this concept. It's ignorant. It's very, very lazy. Why are we doing this? Why? This is very WWE and at times AEW-esque. Why is Impact doing this? I have no idea. Now, I do think that Nick Aldis is going to win. It seems like they're going to be on the fast track of making Nick Aldis world champion real quick, which kind of makes sense because Maclin, to me, seems like a very transitional champion. I thought they were going to kind of wait and let him be champion for at least 6 months, which would be Bound for Glory, and that's when he loses. But it seems like they're going to fast track everything because it does make sense. Because Nick Aldis is somebody that you can build the company around, and he can be your face, and Impact can be taken serious. Like, Maclin seems very mid-card to me. Same thing with Josh Alexander. Those guys are not main eventers. Whereas when you see Nick Aldis, he looks and feels special. He's like their version of Cody Rhodes if they would have gotten Cody Rhodes. Well, Impact did have Cody Rhodes at one time when he got released in WWE. I think he went to Impact. He worked a few shows of Impact. He was there for a little while, maybe a couple months. I want to say that was in 2018, yeah. That must have been maybe 2017. It was either 2017 or 2018. I'm going to go and say it was 2017. So, yeah. So, they're probably going to fast track Nick Aldis winning. All right, moving on. So, the first match of the night officially was Eddie Edwards versus Yuya Uemura. So, this was a very long match. This was like the longest match on the show for the most part, outside of the main event. This went on for at least a good 15 minutes, because this went past, like, I think 2 commercial breaks, and it was sad. So Eddie Edwards wins via the Boston knee party for 1, 2, 3. He hit the Tiger Driver for a near fall. So I was shocked that didn't put away Yuya, but the Boston knee party did. So post-match, Eddie Edwards offers Yuya a handshake, but he pulls out when Yuya goes for the handshake. Okay. So then that causes Frankie Kazarian to come out, and he says he finds it funny that Eddie looks at himself as a locker room leader and wants respect, but doesn't give it to a hungry young guy like Yuya, who took him to the limit. And then Frankie Kazarian knocks down Eddie Edwards. So they're probably going to continue their little feud, more than likely at Against All Odds. So that makes sense. It doesn't really matter, though. Again, I'm so tired of Impact trying to make Frankie Kazarian relevant. He's not. Frankie Kazarian, to me, is in Rhino territory. And that's not good, because I don't like Rhino like that. And Frankie Kazarian, he's okay, but Frankie would be better if he was just like a backstage producer. And I mean, let's just be honest. They're not going to build the company around Frankie Kazarian. Like, that's not going to happen. So our next match, Decay versus Sami Callihan and Jake Crist. So Sami Callihan and Jake Crist make short work of Decay. So they win. Post-match, the Design, oh God, those losers, they come out to take out Sami and Jake Crist, but they beat down Sami and Jake Crist. So then Rich Swann comes out with a steel chair, and the Design, they leave the ring. Then Sami and Jake, they meet Rich Swann backstage. Rich said that he's sorry that he missed everything, but he's going to be in the 8-4-1 match, so Sami will have to find another partner. Sami said he's going to have to find a monster. So I guess they're going to bring back Madman Fulton. So they're going to have 3/4 of OVE reunited, which kind of makes sense. I think Dave Crist is blackballed from the industry, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Next, this leads us into Trinity versus Savannah Evans. This is a decent little match here. So Trinity gets the win here via the Starstruck submission, which I do like. So I'm glad that she's using that. I'm shocked she hasn't used the rear view as a finish in Impact yet, but she probably will. So post-match, Trinity calls out Deonna Purrazzo. So Deonna comes out and says that she's still the Knockouts World Champion and the Virtuosa. Deonna says when she's the Knockouts World Champion, everyone has something to ask her. Trinity suggests they face each other at Slammiversary. Deonna says, let's dance. And I'm just like, what are we doing here? There's no story here. Like, why are you booking a match that's 2 months, that's a month and some change out. Like, they're doing it way too early. But I guess it makes sense, but not like this. Like, we can't build up Trinity getting several wins and then coming out and doing it. Like, you have well over a month and a half to build towards the anniversary. So then Gisele Shaw and Savannah Evans, they attack Deonna Purrazzo and Trinity. Jordynne Grace comes out. She gets beat down as well. And then Gisele Shaw hits the well, I can't pronounce that. I'm not gonna hold you up. So it's basically the Demora or whatever it's called. She hit that on Jordynne Grace 3 times. So there's that. I'm guessing they wrote Jordynne Grace off that way, which makes sense. I don't know why they didn't do Taya Valkyrie that way when they had her. That's what should have happened to her then. Next, this leads us into Jody Threat versus Dani Luna from Subculture. This was a pretty decent match. This was very hard-hitting right here. This was very hard-hitting. There are a couple good little spots in here. But in the end, Jody hits the F-bomb for the 1, 2, 3. Again, I don't understand why in the hell is Jody Threat there. What has she done? She's done nothing. They've just put her in matches. She's not cut a promo except for one time, and it was backstage against Alicia Edwards a few weeks ago. And they've only given her one vignette, and that was like, I want to say back in May or maybe even April. But it doesn't make sense. It's like, you gotta give us a reason as to why she's there. It makes no sense. She's not a Masha Slamovich, right? I don't get it. I hate when Impact does this shit. It's so damn annoying. I hate it. It's stupid. Like, they've got to give Jody Threat some type of character, a few vignettes, and tell us why she's the way she is. What's her character? What's her gimmick? Like, she's not gonna get over this way. She's not. I just don't understand it. It boggles my damn mind. It really does boggle my mind. I'm shocked that Impact continues to do this. And this happens almost every week. This shit has to stop. This shit has to stop. It's very lame and boring. Like, for real. She's just a wrestler's wrestler. Like, it makes no sense. You have to get these people characters. And have vignettes for these people. You should have gotten at least 3 or 4 straight vignettes of Jody Threat explaining why she's in Impact, why she's there, what are her goals for the for being with the promotion. My God, it's not hard to book these people. Seriously. Moving on. So Joe Hendry, he's backstage with Santino Marella. They talk about Dirty Dango. Joe Hendry says Santino should get revenge. Santino is about to book a match. So Kenny King, but Kenny King and Sheldon Jean, they show up. Kenny says Sheldon broke Joe's nose, and they both laugh at Joe Hendry. And then Santino books Sheldon Jean versus Joe Hendry for next week. And then he also books Dirty Dango versus Joe Hendry at Against All Odds. So it makes sense. I guess. Again, it doesn't matter. We know that Joe Hendry and Dirty Dango are going to be on the pre-show more than likely. I don't know. But they were on the pre-show last time for Under Siege. Why would this be any different? It's not. Next, we get a really good vignette for my girl, who's mad sexy, that being Killer Kelly. Ooh, I love that girl. So she tells Masha to wrap her chain around her neck so they can play together. And I'm shocked that this is going to be a dog collar match. I really am shocked. Like, that's going to be very interesting, to say the least. I didn't think the Impact would do some shit like that. But Impact, they'll do anything. Like, they're trying to be as super indie as they can get. I don't know why. I don't. But I'm very interested in seeing this match. This should be kind of high on the card. Not co-main event, and obviously not the main event, but it should be really high up on the card. And then we get the main event, that being the Motor City Machine Guns versus Subculture. The Motor City Machine Guns win in a spot fest match, pretty much. And that was it. So they hit the dirt bomb for the 1, 2, 3. And then Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, they celebrate, and we go off the air. So that was Impact. Pretty okay little show. Could have been better, but, we're building towards Against All Odds next week, which should be interesting. And then we fast track straight to Slammiversary. I'm thinking what they're going to probably do is they're probably going to have Deonna Purrazzo and Steve Maclin both kind of be transitional champions, since they've got Nick Aldis and since they have Naomi, aka Trinity, aka Naomi. They're going to probably fast track that. And I don't want that, but it does kind of make sense from an actual business perspective, because Deonna's done everything that she can do in Impact, and Steve Maclin, he just seems very mid-card. It's like he would be a transitional champion. So I do think that's what they're probably going to end up doing, and they'll probably end up having Steve Maclin and Nick Aldis feud up until probably Bound for Glory. Same thing with Deonna Purrazzo. They seem better as chasers, in my opinion. They do. And we could very well see Josh Alexander come back. If he comes back, it'll probably be at Bound for Glory, more than likely. So that's what they'll probably end up doing. But I do see them fast-tracking everything because it does make sense, Steve Maclin being champion, it's cool, but it's not something that should be long-term. And Deonna Purrazzo being champion, it's cool, but the same thing applies to her. Like, I like Deonna Purrazzo, but she needs to be in WWE or AEW. Like, she's done everything she can in Impact, but that's just me. Against All Odds is shaping up to be decent for the most part. What did you guys think of the show? Let me know. Please hit the like button, subscribe, and comment down below. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.